Hey, what's on guys? My name is Brad. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another Duel Links video. It's not a Duel Links, but I did it again. This is a Legacy Duelist Link Evolution video. It's going to take a while for me to kind of get my head around that and get around saying that. But we have some really cool information today that could pertain to a worldwide release date. We're going to talk about that, talk about some trademarks, as well as talk about some of the potential problems and issues that could arise from being a worldwide release. So if you only really care about the fact that it's been confirmed for releasing worldwide, then I'll put a timestamp on the video for kind of that part. And then if you want to, listen to me ramble about some of the issues the game could have, and with regards to just like distribution and stuff and cards and differences between two versions or whatever, if they go down that route, then stick around for the full video. That's, it's going to be the main bulk of this video. So it's been about a month since Link Evolution was announced. It was announced on February 4th. So it's now February 9th, or March 9th, sorry. So it's been well over a month actually since it's been announced, and we've heard nothing else. We're meant to hear something in the February V-Jump. We kind of got that in a very small, segment just saying, hey, it's coming, it's alive, whatever. So nothing really new there. And then about a week ago, we got an official trademark confirmation over in Japan for Legacy of the Duelist. Not Link Evolution, but just for Legacy of the Duelist. And that to me kind of signaled, hey, things might be ramping up a bit more now, because now this legally lets Konami, of course, use that moniker and that branding for promotional material, obviously for selling the game, things like that. So things are definitely moving very quickly with regards to this game. So I assume and I hope that we'll be seeing something new within the next 2 weeks. More on that a little bit later. Now today, or yesterday actually, Silicon Era posted an article, Legacy of the Duelist Link Evolution trademarks in the US, Europe and Korea, which is really interesting because we've never had this before. We have never had, apart from Duel Links I think, a game trademarked across multiple regions pretty much at the same time. So again, on screen you're seeing the US trademark office, which is still kind of ongoing, the European one and the Korean one as well, which of course don't really give too much new information. It just kind of says, hey look, it's a video game thing, here's the application date, here's the status date of when it was filed. It's not been officially approved, I don't think, yet. I think that's what it means. Just like the current trademark status and all of them is application filed, not really had anything done with it. So it could still be a while until we hear any news about Link Evolution, but the fact that it's being trademarked worldwide either means one of two things. Either A, they're just protecting their IP in case they ever want to do anything with it, or B, the game's coming out worldwide and potentially at the same time. And now if it is coming out worldwide, I do fully expect that it will be a PS4, Xbox One, PC and Switch game. Maybe not PC, I don't know how well that did for the platform, but if it's just the main three consoles, it would make a lot of sense given that the Xbox One and PS4 are way more popular outside of Japan than they are in Japan. So let's talk about when this could be revealed. So if you didn't know right now, it is Konami's 50th anniversary. If you go on Duel Links, you'll see the big 50th anniversary logo screen, and that should basically give you an idea that it is coming up to their 50th anniversary. I believe it's the 21st of March that it's going to be their 50 years of being in the video game business, which is kind of crazy. They've produced some really cool franchises, Bomberman, Castlevania, Metal Gear, and of course Yu-Gi-Oh! And at the start of the year, they actually announced that they're going to be revealing some cool projects to celebrate their 50 years, and Link Evolution to me fits within that time frame. It was announced just a month and a half before their official 50th anniversary, and it would make sense that they reveal a game for one of their biggest IPs, their biggest moneymakers, for their 50 years. That would be really cool. So we could be seeing more news, more screenshots, gameplay, whatever about Link Evolution within the next 2 weeks. I'd like to hope it is within these next 2 weeks. Everything kind of seems to be pointing towards that, with these trademarks being filed with the 50th anniversary. Again, that's just speculation on my part, but it could kind of happen. But now let's talk about the main bulk of the video, and that's going to be what kind of happens with this game, because if it is a worldwide release, then there is some really interesting things that can happen with this, because we have never had, even Duel Links was a split release from Japan and worldwide. We have never had a worldwide Yu-Gi-Oh! Video game released in at least the past 10 years to my knowledge, and especially one that relies so heavily on multiplayer and PvP. All of the past Yu-Gi-Oh! Games have taken months or even years to import, to localize, and by that point the card pool kind of it kind of makes sense because, Japan gets cards, 4 months early around that. It's like the average kind of time for cards in Japan to come over to here. And so by that time, those cards will be released in the TCG. Whereas now we're at a bit of a standpoint with the TCG and OCG where the amount of cards that are missing is really big, and it's on both sides as well, because we now have Tcg Exclusives as part of the game. So the original Legacy Duelist released in July 2015, and that game only went up to February 2015's The Secret Forces, which gave us Necros and Ritual Beasts, and so that's what, a February, March, April, May, June, July, it's a 6-month gap in terms of card releases. And then in December 2016 it was updated to Shining Victories, which again was around a 6-month time gap, which gave us of course some of the Blue Eye support but not all the DOSOD movie support, which if it would have been a game based on the Japan release we would have already gotten, but we didn't. So yeah, like there is a lot of differences between the regions. So if we look at that time gap again and assume a similar release, like say it came out in July again, then if this game was, based on the OCG, we'd be rounding up with cards from Dark Neostorm and Infinity Chasers, whereas if we were to go for the TCG, we'd be finishing off with things from Savage Strike and Structure Deck Soulburner, which would, at both points, like both of these are really interesting because you could very easily say, well, why not just use the OCG releases since it's being released in Japan first and then just import all that over? But the two major flaws being the ban list and the card pool, because the metagame is so completely different between two regions. If you had officially endorsed Simulator, because that's what these are they're referred to as the Ultimate Duelist Simulator, if you have this officially endorsed by Konami, you would surely want it to represent at least a more up-to-date version of the game in your region rather than what's happening in the OCG, because there is a ton of differences between obviously things on the ban list. Like I think Astrograph is limited over there, where it's banned over here. That's one that immediately comes to mind. I believe they still have Top Logic Gunblood Dragon in the game as well, whereas we don't. Of course, Firewall is banned across both regions, thank God. But really, it then comes down to the cards, because here in a TCG, if you take it from a TCG perspective, we're missing a shit ton of things from the OCG. We're missing a bunch of the Link Frame Packs 1 stuff, Link Frames Pack 2. We're missing Needle Fiber, which of course would change up a ton of decks and make them even more broken. We're missing a bunch of jump promos as well, things that we haven't seen for maybe 2+ years almost coming on. I think in a case like Gandora Giga Rays, it's been a very long time since that came out in the OCG, but we haven't seen that in the TCG yet. And so, just from that perspective, we're missing out on a lot that Japan has. Additionally, we have TCG exclusives. We have things like that new Kaiju card. We have the Danger archetype, which is now splashed into pretty much every single deck you can think of under the sun, because it's just a very good engine for increasing consistency and for, opening plays for decks that don't really have too much of a 2019 metagame standard, like Lunalice just won a YCS or whatever it was, YCS Chicago I think it was, and they ran Dangers in there to make that deck a little bit more consistent and to actually top that event. So there's swings and roundabouts between where you'd kind of go with these two games. Like, do you sit there and go, well, we just base the worldwide version off the OCG version, have an OCG ban list and all the OCG cards, and then the TCG players get mad because they don't have Dangers, things they're accustomed to in the TCG? Or do you then say, let's split them up region by region, and then you then have like two split games, two complete different games, and then that divides the online service? And with Duel Links especially, you would have seen the Japanese players make up a very large portion of the game. When you play online the KC Cup, you'll find Japanese players playing most of the time, you'll be ranked up against them, and so having, more regions to play against, to play with, is never a bad thing. And so it's really weird, because we've never had this before. We never had the potential of a game coming out at the same time or being a worldwide release. So if that does happen, then it'll be interesting to see what kind of direction they go down. Personally, I'm thinking they'll do the US, Europe gets the TCG version, Korea and Japan gets the OCG version. Maybe actually Korea would get the TCG version, because I believe that their sets are more akin to the TCG rather than the OCG. But I believe they also have like the Dimension box and stuff, so like the Link Frames box as well. So like there is still a ton of things that we're missing. Like we're not getting a ton of imports until Dual Power, and even then we'll still be very far behind the OCG. So there is just a lot of things that could make this release very interesting, and could mean that if you really want to play this game to the fullest, got to buy the Japanese version and the English version to get the full card pool, I guess. And then of course there's things like DLC and stuff and how they go about doing that, but I'll talk about that in another video regarding this game. hopefully we get some news soon. I really do hope we do, because it's been a very long time since we haven't got any news, and this is a little bit of hope, but also a little bit worrying as to how they're going to go about doing it, because I could see them, really just either way, if they stick with the OSG, do what they do with most games, they just take the OSG game and they import it, they translate it, they do whatever, then we'll be having a ton of cards we don't have access to in the TCG, which is good, but then we'll be missing a ton of cards we do have access to, and cards that are very important for the TCG metagame, which means that the more competitive players, even casual players that want to kind of test out these competitive decks, won't be able to do that. Additionally, there's also things like card rulings not working exactly the same, and we still don't know who the developers of this game. It could be Other Ocean again. They could be developing the English version, then of course outsourcing the Japanese version to a developer in Japan to kind of sort out that kind of thing. We just don't know yet. But that is my little ramble thingy video done on Link Evolution of what we kind of know so far. So what do you think? Do you think we're going to be getting a worldwide release for this game, or do you think they're going to be kind of even if we do you think it'd be two completely different games, like one for Japan, one for the rest of the world, or do you think they're going to be based off the Japan version? Do you think we'll be getting, the PS4, Switch, Xbox One, PC versions, or just the Switch version? There's a lot of things to kind of think about and talk about and discuss, so let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next Duel Links video, which probably will be a Duel Links video actually. See you then.